It's like this little dirty little bass line.
I don't fucking care. Can we move on to a new segment, please?
Yeah!
Welcome to Just Two Fans, a sports show about sports,
Obviously.
about life,
Because sports are life.
and about just whatever the hell we feel like talking about. So, let's go.
What is up, everybody? Here comes. There you are. You're back. We'll get this streaming thing figured out someday.
Oh, you know what's funny is I also think that my mic was also muted. We're just starting off strong. You know,
Super strong.
it is what it is, man. We're fucking millennials, you know? We're supposed to be a little out of touch at this point in our lives, I think, right?
Yeah, we're definitely getting up there.
Dude, oh my God. I had the biggest fucking get off my lawn moment the other day.
Oh boy.
I was sitting there. So I go to the gym, right? Right after work, I go to the gym. Which also turns out to be right when all the high schoolers are there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And their gym experience is like a million times different than what mine was. There is not a time when I go into my locker room to like change into my workout clothes or like change back into my normal clothes where there are not 2 to 4 Gen Z guys with their shirts off, floofing up their hair, their permed hair in the mirror. I legitimately does not matter when I'm there. That is consistently happening.
That is gross.
It's weird. I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm not going to yuck their yum, right? I'm not going to be this millennials like, ugh. Like,
I am.
you can do that. But, like, hey, you know, they're all, here's this thing. They're working out. They're going to stay healthy, right? Good for them.
Good for them.
It's fucking weird, man. It's like they're sitting there like flexing constantly and then, like, floofing up their hair. And, like, you know, so it's like, all like their fluffy, you know, like the hairstyle thing. And I just don't. It's weird. And then like, okay, so this is actually the get off my lawn part about this. So I can whatever Gen Z wants to do, if they want to flex in the mirror with their buddies and have their permed hair up, like whatever. That's do you. You're not hurting anyone else. Where I do take real umbrage is when you're sitting there and there's 4 of them on one machine, and they're really not lifting.
Right.
They take 2 hours.
That's been a problem forever though. That's not just a Gen Z problem.
I have never in my life experienced like seeing groups of 4 or 5 people on the same machine when like they're none of them are actually like real like they just like they do like 2 sets and they sit and talk for, or not 2 sets, like 2 reps, sit and talk for 15 minutes. It's like their social hour.
Yeah.
Right? But like, and here's the thing, again, like whatever. Right? Like, do you? But like, I need to use that machine.
I mean, it's do you until you're inconveniencing other people. Then don't stop doing you, because you is not cool anymore.
Yeah. And so I like the other day, it actually kind of made me feel cool, because there was a group of them on the machine, the last machine I needed for the day. And there's a couple like alternatives, but like they're just not quite as good. It's like one of those ones where it's like,
Sure.
It's ISO'd bicep stuff. So it's like,
Okay.
you know,
Very specific.
yeah. And I was like, okay, I said, hey guys, can I rotate in here? Like, I need to get my reps in. And they're like, yeah, that's fine, man. That's fine. Or I asked them how many sets they had left. And they're like, well, we got like 4 more sets, because they do large sets, I guess. And he goes, yeah, like, yeah, no. I was like, can I rotate in? They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I go and I put another 45 plate onto the bicep curl machine and then did it. And they had to all take them off. I was just like, yeah, I'm so fucking strong. Like, I felt really cool, man. Like I was just like, yeah, this fucking old guy still got it, my dudes. I had the pump going too for my biceps. I was looking pretty good at the moment.
Enjoy your Johnny Bravo hair. I'm over
Yeah.
here lifting more weight than you,
It's
bitch.
not even Johnny Bravo hair, dude. Like Johnny Bravo hair is like slicked back, right? This is like late 80s, early 90s house mom hair.
Oh God.
It's like permed, and like there's a lot of mullets, dude. Oh, like okay, so here's
I've seen that.
Here's
I've
my
seen that.
ultimate like get off my lawn shit. So I have a friend who's pretty young. You've met him. Pretty young guy. Great dude. Really funny. But I asked him one time, I was like, describe like the most trendy outfit / style you can have right now. And he described it to me, and it was like, what was it? It was oversized NASCAR t-shirt, cargo pants, white Nike socks that are scrunched a little bit. Just wait. Crocs, and then like the hair thing, right? That's like the trendy, right? Or mullet in the hair thing. And I was like, you guys literally dress like the white trash kid from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally what the white trash kids wore.
100%.
And like, oh my God, they're like all wearing pajama pants at the gym too. That's like a trend, I guess.
I've seen that at my gym too.
That like to me, like, again, I'm not going to judge people for what they wear to the gym, whatever. Like if you want to wear the pajama pants and wife beater, again, it's like this white trash aesthetic from when we were kids, but like, I'm not going to judge you from what you wear. Like just, I can't understand working out in pajama pants. That seems like a nightmare. They're like too soft. They're hot. No fucking chance. No fucking chance am I working out in that.
No, I can barely work out in sweats when it's winter.
Yeah.
Like
outside.
I just
like,
fucking, I can't do it.
Yeah. And like maybe like I know like I run hot, but like
Same.
Like if I'm not working out in shorts, I'm dying.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How like I don't know how I legitimately don't understand how they can wear like, and it's not like like the guys who are like working out alone. Like this is one thing about like Gen Z, the guys who like go there and just like lift are fucking ripped. They're like strong and they like, but they work out hard, but they're wearing pajama pants. I'm like, how are you not just dripping ball sweat right now? How are you not leaving a little snail trail when you're just walking around with ball sweat? Because that's what I would have. I need some airflow, dog.
Yeah, nope. Again, do you. As long as you're not inconveniencing other people, do whatever the hell you want. But
yeah, all this is like, this is just like observations outside of the machine thing, which is actually annoying.
It is annoying, and it needs to stop. Like, stop. Just,
but I mean, at least they were nice about me rotating in.
That's fine.
But like, I was just kind of like, dudes, like, if you're not going to be actively lifting, step away.
Or just go away.
Just step away for a minute. I don't give a shit. I'll go do my reps. It takes me to get my three reps of 12 or 3 reps of 10 or whatever. Takes me 5 minutes max. Like
Corsten says this show's off to a great start.
I know, right? 5 minutes max. So like just let me go in, do my thing, and then you can come back and do your one set or whatever while you take your 10, 20-minute break.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've gotten to a point that I just don't give a shit. Like, stay out of my way and do whatever the fuck you want. I don't.
Yeah. But just let me do my thing.
I also don't understand the pajama pants thing. Like, no way in hell, but whatever. You do you.
Yeah. Again, it's like, I don't care that you're wearing that there, but like,
you can't be comfy.
That seems miserable.
Yeah, you can't be comfy. It's
Even
impossible.
my like airiest pajama pants, like my lightest pajama pants.
Yeah, there's no chance.
I wear shorts at home when my AC is blasting. I don't care, man. I don't wear long pants for anything if I don't have to.
Nope. Agreed. Let's get to some sports.
I guess.
How about as most people probably know, today is the USC and UCLA preview episode. But we are going to touch on the sports of the week, specifically because the Denver Nuggets won the NBA championship.
I would never have guessed, Jamie.
I don't know how you couldn't have guessed that.
I would have never guessed in this moment that the Denver Nuggets won the championship, or by the sheer number, the sheer force majeure of Jamie sending me TikToks of Nikola Jokic. It's got to be 30.
Unicorn.
It's got to be 30, man.
And they're all incredible.
Well, for a Nuggets fan.
They're all incredible.
For a Nuggets fan. Some of them are fine.
For everybody else, too. Dude's a unicorn.
He's an incredible basketball player. I also do love the fact that he's like, this is my job. And, like, could not care less. Like, the fact that he legitimately lost his MVP trophy. He's like, I put it in the guy's office and it's gone.
He found it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
But, like, still. But, like, the fact that he had zero concern about it. He's like, yeah, it's gone. Whatever, man.
I hope I get it back, but whatever.
Yeah. He just doesn't give a shit. He's like, I don't want to go to the parade. And he enjoyed the parade. He's like, I want to go home to my horses. Like, and respect, man. Like, that's like basketball is clearly his job.
It's just insane to me that he can be literally the best basketball player in the world right now and couldn't care any less about being the best basketball
player. Maybe that's
why. Well, it's weird because, like, everybody talks about the Mamba mentality with Kobe, right? And he's just a total gym rat. Basketball is his life.
Yeah.
And that's what made him so good. And this is just the absolute polar opposite of that. I've never seen anything like this.
I just kind of wonder if it's like one of those things where he feels zero pressure because it's like, this is just my job. Like, I go to the gym because it's my job. I shoot the basketball really well because it's my job. And so he doesn't necessarily feel that pressure. He's just performing at his job because he doesn't, like, it's not everything.
Right. He doesn't do social media, so he doesn't hear any of the ups or the downs. Like, he shows up to play basketball, and then he goes home.
I tell you what, my favorite thing to come out of this whole championship so far is Parade Malone.
Oh, yeah. He
unbelievable.
He let loose.
Just S tier.
Michael Malone was on a whole nother level.
It was
during that parade.
I mean, they all were kind of on a whole other level for that parade.
Everybody on every parade is like that. But did you see Tom Brady after their boat parade in Tampa?
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
Just stumbling on the sidewalk. Like, they all get like that.
Yeah. Or who was it? Was it was it Aaron Gordon going around chugging beers with fans?
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
After the game.
Or was that Caldwell Pope?
No, it was Aaron Gordon.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you mean during the
parade?
Everybody but Murray and Jokic got off the float at one point.
Well,
it was wild. It was a wild parade. But Aaron Gordon, after the game last week, after the last game when they won it, was out in the streets of Denver with everybody. He was in his game shorts.
Madman.
He was in his game shorts. Like, he hadn't he took off his jersey. That is just A+. Just baller status right there. But I want to know from an outsider's perspective, because I know my perspective on this run, and it was insane. I mean, the Nuggets went 16-4 in the playoffs. They finished 10-1 to close out the playoffs. Nikola Jokic averaged 30 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 9.5 assists. I mean, just insane numbers in the playoffs. The ratings were good. It was the highest rated finals series in the last 5 years, which everybody told you that you didn't want to see this matchup because it wasn't the Lakers and Celtics, but turns out that's not true. So as a non-Nuggets fan, what is your perspective on this run for the Nuggets and just the overall feel of the playoffs?
I thought the playoffs were fun this year. There's a lot of kind of upsets. It's hard to call on this level. It's hard to call them upsets, right? Every team is good, right? Especially in the playoffs. Like, every team is good. When it we
had a lot of lower seeds.
A lot of lower seeds,
rounds.
right? And, like, people are trying to knock this Nuggets run by, like, they went through 2-8 or 8-7 and whatever. Like, and that
is such a
it's
tired argument.
here's the thing
it's so
is
tired.
if the 2 seed had beat their, or if they had beat the 7 seed, then they wouldn't have had to play it. Like, it's all garbage. It's
well,
dumb.
they can't help playing the 8
and
seed because they were the 1 seed.
Also,
and if the 2 seed had done their job
Yeah.
and beat the 7 seed, then they would have played them.
And
Like,
then you also look at, like, they played the Suns, who were projected to be the champion by many people, even coming into the playoffs. They were like,
right. Even going into the series,
they like, people were saying they were the champions. But when it comes to, like, the Nuggets, particularly on the run, to me, as somebody who has been around the Nuggets a lot, like, so I guess I'm not a true outside perspective here because I've been around them a lot. This felt like what it should have been for the last 3 years, right?
Yep, that's
it
what
felt
it felt
like a
like to me,
breakthrough.
too.
And mostly it just felt like, oh, this is what they should have been if they were healthy all these last 3 years. I really think the window has been this last 3 years, but the health has been a major issue. And I think I don't want to put that, like, it just seems like these were major injuries for
they were
like, more so than a lot of teams, right? Like, it's not often that you would see like 2 like major contributors out for the playoffs, right? And
then the team have success. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it just kind of felt like I was like going into the playoffs. I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know who's gonna beat him. Nikola Jokic is the best center in basketball, the best player in basketball right now. Like, and then Jamal Murray played outside his damn mind. But yeah, it just this kind of felt like it was just like inevitable almost. So I wasn't like it didn't feel like a magical run to me. It was like, yeah, they should have won. They were the number 1 overall seed.
They weren't the number 1 overall, but they were the number 1 in the West.
No, it was the East. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, Milwaukee was number 1 overall, and Boston was 2 overall.
Yeah. But they were the number 1 seed in the West. Like, that's what you should have done.
It should have happened. And it's just hilarious to me because the only analyst that was all over this was Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
He's been on them all year. And Tim Legler was on them starting in like January. But other than that, like, nope, everybody counted them out throughout the whole playoffs. Literally every series, they were like, nope, they're not going to win this series, except for maybe the opening round.
Yeah.
And great poster board material, and Michael Malone used it to perfection. It was just an excellent. It was very reminiscent of the Avs run last year to me. It was very similar trajectory for both teams, similar playoff runs. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it'll be interesting to see how this lineup is next year. Because traditionally,
all the starters are back.
Traditionally, teams after they win a championship get beat up in like free agency and stuff. So,
but all the starters are back.
We'll see.
And the 6th man. So Bruce Brown was the one piece that's not really locked up. He declined his player option today, but all the word around is that he declined his player option, and the Nuggets are going to sign him to a 4-year deal.
Oh, cool.
So he declined his player option so he could sign a better contract, but he wants to stay. So this team's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but now they have to go through the Suns with Bradley Beal.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Go ahead though. Everybody in the national media, please anoint the Suns the NBA champions for next season. It's funny
because like the media coverage throughout this whole playoffs has been so fucking weird.
Oh, it's crazy.
And even coming out of the East too, it's just been weird, man. Like,
yeah,
and like
it's all super sensationalized. Yeah. They have to go to the extreme in every case.
That's what the NBA is.
But it works.
Yeah,
right, because if you look at both playoffs, the NBA and NHL playoffs were on at the same time, and obviously we know the NBA is way more popular than the NHL in general. But if you look at the TV ratings of those two, it is astronomically different. Like the NHL, and the NHL isn't sensationalized at all. It's like the ultimate team sport, and it's like you don't really have superstars.
Yeah.
You do within the like clique that is the NHL, but outside of that, like you don't have. If Nathan McKinnon was walking down the street in LA, nobody would know who he is.
Yeah, and I mean I've said this multiple times on the show that the NBA is a superstar league. That's what's carried them.
That's how they've
marketing their superstars.
Well, and that's why the Nuggets haven't been. That's why the Nuggets weren't popular They don't have LeBron. They don't have KD. They don't have Steph. They don't have Giannis, right? And Nikola Jokic, the best basketball player in the world right now, and it's not even really close. Doesn't want to be a superstar. He doesn't want the spotlight. And so, of course, the media is going to try to knock him down as much as they can.
Yeah. One of my favorite things was going on Twitter during the finals and watching all the people who just realized that Jamal Murray is a good player. They're like, who is this guy? It's like, he's been really fucking good for the last 5 years, dude. Like it's just, yeah, it's funny. The coverage is just so weird in the NBA. Like it's unlike any other sport, truly. Because it's so superstar driven that people don't
and sensationalized. I mean, everything's sensationalized these days, but it seems like the NBA is just on a whole other planet with that phenomenon. All right. No more about the Nuggets. We still got a lot of football to talk about, but a couple other things. Real quick, Vegas Golden Knights, won the Stanley Cup in their 6th season as a franchise.
It's their second one in 6 seasons.
No, they were in the finals.
Oh, that's right. They only went there. Sorry. My bad.
So first Stanley Cup, total snooze fest of a finals.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was non-competitive. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Other than Brooks Koepka taking coke at the stadium. Did you see any of that?
I did not. But here, this is my shocked face about that.
Yeah, dude. Look up a video of Brooks Koepka at the Panthers game. I think it may have been in the Eastern Conference Finals because it was after the whatever.
Was he snorting live?
Championship? No, but he had the beady eyes and his nose was all red and he wouldn't blink.
I would love to see Brooks Koepka just take a fat ripper in the middle of a hockey game.
Who wouldn't love that?
I think it'd be pretty funny. Pretty funny.
That was the most entertaining thing about these playoffs after the Avs left. The problem with hockey, and I know there's hockey heads out there that will love it no matter what. My cousins are 2 of them. But as soon as the Avs are out, it's hard for me to get into it. And I appreciate the sport more and more the more I watch it, but it's not like basketball or baseball or football where I can just sit down and watch whoever's in the playoffs. It's got to be my team.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that just kind of goes hand in hand with being fairly new to the sport, right? And
it does. I'm a casual, for sure.
And it's not like you're sitting there analyzing line rotations and
and it just doesn't get the national coverage that the other sports get. It just doesn't. It's the 4th tier of the 4 major sports.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
the product on the ice though is up there, but.
Oh, it's insane.
Except for the finals.
It is. But even, I mean, if you're it's good hockey by the Golden Knights. So if you're watching it as a pure hockey they were playing phenomenal hockey. Yeah. It's just it's not a competitive series. All right. So that's that. And then the last podium topic, we have an Oregon Duck as the U.S. Open champion.
Yes, sir. Yes, we do.
Wyndham Clark won the U.S. Open this past weekend, held off Rory, who made a charge Sunday and looked if you told me after 9 holes, I think they were tied, I would have been Rory's closing this out. There's just no – Wyndham Clark has 1 tour win on his record. There's no way. And he just played solid golf.
Really good golf. It was a little bittersweet, right, because Wyndham Clark, go Ducks, love that. Such a big Ricky fan, and he just shit the bed so bad on Sunday.
Absolutely crumbled on Sunday.
It was so sad. I don't know, man.
It's just good to see him back in the fold.
Yeah,
though.
for sure.
Like, I feel like this was a necessary stepping stone. I feel like he's getting there.
I feel like I've been thinking that for the last like 10
You
years.
have, yes. It has felt like that. But he was bad the last couple.
That's true.
And so to see him at least back in the top
Being
5
competitive
is
and,
really good.
Yeah.
Just hopefully he can start closing it out. Did you see the story about their putters, Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler? So if you paid any attention Sunday, they have the same putter. And it's like a 7-year-old Odyssey, like not very popular putter. And it's like one of the blue and white ones from whenever they started doing the weirdness. And the bottom of it has like 8 layers of lead tape, and it's got this big fat grip on the top.
Yes, dude.
And they're identical. Both of them are identical. So it was really weird because like this isn't a putter that's out now. And so they aired a story about it that so Ricky's caddy, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but Ricky was just playing a casual round with his caddy, and that's the putter his caddy was using. And his caddy's like, "Hey, check it out." And Ricky used it and was like draining everything. And so he called up Odyssey and was like, "I need this exact putter. I don't care what I need this exact one with this exact lead tape on the bottom, everything. Just give me this putter."
Wow.
And so that's what he used. And then Ricky was playing just a casual round with Wyndham Clark because they live close to each other and did the same thing. So now they both basically have clone putters.
That's hilarious.
And they were in the final pairing of the US
I have
Open.
always said, and this is every advice I give to someone when they're talking about buying a new putter, is do not look at brands. Do not look online and be like, "Ooh, I like this one. I want to." Just go out, putt. And if it feels good, buy it. If it doesn't, don't buy it, regardless of brand name, style.
I did that.
It's the best advice I can give anyone. It's because it does, like, putter technology is bullshit. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Some of the best putters I've ever hit in my life are from the fucking 80s.
Look at the putter Tiger uses. It's the same putter he's used since 1997.
Yeah. And like it doesn't matter, dude. Like 99.9% of putter technology does not matter.
It's total
just
garbage.
Go put it in your hands, and if it feels good, get it. Because putting is 90% confidence. Everything else is just line and speed. But if you have the confidence, it's head game. More so than even
Total
any other
game.
swing. Putting is
maybe than any other thing in sports.
Yeah, it's the most mental thing in the world.
Total mental game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe
hitting a baseball.
Yeah,
but
there are times in my game, if I'm really feeling it, like sometimes I will putt and adjust the stroke mid-stroke for a different line. Like mid backswing, I'll be like, actually, this needs to go a little further left, and I'll hit it further left, and it'll drain it. You know, it's like stuff like that. It's all feel. It's all feel. Even if your putter, if you don't love the feel of it, go out and putt with it for 4 hours. Like, and he does obviously not necessarily at once, but go out just 1 hour here and there for 4 hours. You'll get the hang of it. You'll be able to putt with it.
I just thought that was an insane, because you see all these guys out with like the new TaylorMade Spider and the new Scotty or whatever, and these guys are out here with like a 9-year-old putter that was not popular at all when it was even sold, and they just have lead tape, like you can't even see the logo on the bottom,
heavy ass
lead
putter,
tape
dude,
all over it. and they were just draining everything until Ricky on Sunday.
I also don't know how pros use heavy putters. I don't get it.
I don't. So much touch needed
with
on
how
those
fast
greens.
the greens are that they play on. I don't understand how they keep that ball slow enough to.
I don't
get it.
All right,
blade putters for life, yo.
I do like my mallet, but I have a relatively light mallet.
Blade putter, man.
My Nike S12. It was like a putter for a month before they quit making. Like, it was a brand new. I've never seen another one like mine, and I have another blade that I don't like nearly as much. It's like you said. Once you find what feels good, just stick with it, because there's no reason to change.
If you're putting well and it feels good, don't go out and buy another one. It's not going to help your game.
And who cares what people think about your fucking putter?
It's not going to change your game.
Nope.
That's like people are like, I think I'm going to go out and get the new Scotty. Don't. And
I do eventually in my life. I've never really even hit one though, so I don't know. Like,
I mean,
if
they're
I go
good.
out
They're
and I'm getting even fit for one,
they're well made.
Of
putters.
course, they're well made.
They're well made putters, and Scotty Cameron is a legendary maker of putters. However, like,
if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good.
That's why I guess I'm not saying don't. I'm saying don't buy it online. Go hit one.
Don't buy it just because it's a Scotty.
Don't buy it just because it's a Scotty, for sure.
That's why. Yep. All right, let's get into our second Pac-12 preview.
All right.
Pac-12 football preview. This week we have UCLA and USC. Recap quickly of last week. We had Arizona and Arizona State. Without reviewing everybody else, we basically said these are two bottom 5, bottom 4 teams in the Pac-12. One of them rebuilding, that's Arizona State. The other one in a downward trajectory quickly, and that is Arizona. This week we have UCLA and USC. Last year, these were two pretty good teams. So we'll see how they stack up. Let's start with UCLA, the Bruins. Recap of 2022, they finished 6th in the Pac-12 at 9-4 overall, 6-3 in conference. Kind of fell apart towards the end of the year. Tough to say really what that was. They were just kind of inconsistent as the year wore on.
They had some pretty significant holes in defense as well.
Well, I mean, if you look at their losses, it's Oregon, USC, and then the standout here was Arizona. Like it's a really, really inexcusable loss at home. It's classic trap game before the USC game.
Dorson.
So,
watching. He's gonna be like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out."
So it was interesting season. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was hit or miss, but we'll get into that in a second. Best win last year was definitely Utah. Beat Utah by 10 points the first weekend in October. That's a big win.
Yeah, late season Utah.
Really good Utah team. Obviously, rent-free, baby, according to Dorson. That's a great response. Thank you. Worst loss, obviously, is Arizona. Not even close. That's an inexcusable loss for a team at the time that was 8-1.
God, can we talk about that as like the most quintessential Chip Kelly loss of all time?
Oh, my God. That just like brings up so many painful memories.
So many.
Especially against Arizona, too. It's like, just
dude,
no.
Fuck the Arizona schools. Ugh.
Forever.
Hated
Fuck
when Oregon
forever.
played them.
Especially in the desert.
And especially when one of them was very bad. Just horrible.
Roasting Washington was pretty great, too. You're right. Those were back-to-back wins in back-to-back weeks that were very good. Utah and Washington in back-to-back weeks.
Yes.
That was when they looked good. They were a top 10 team. They went into Oregon, got the shit kicked out of them, and then just downward spiral from there.
Yeah, that Oregon game really broke them. And I was glad to be there for it.
I'm jealous.
Of course, if you asked Dorian Thompson-Robinson, that game was nothing, and the Ducks just got lucky or something.
I wonder if he felt that way after the Arizona game.
Yeah. Well, if we played good, we would have won. Oh, really?
I still think that Bo Nix 62-yard teardrop touchdown pass is maybe the most beautiful pass I've ever seen against UCLA.
Apparently it wasn't 62 yards.
How long was it?
Under 50. Because statistically,
What?
UCLA did not give up. Remember we talked about this yesterday when we were researching.
Oh,
UCLA
yeah.
did not give up a single pass or a running play over 50 yards. However, between 10 and 50 yards, they ranked 110th nationally.
I think that stat was probably wrong because that definitely was a 63-yard, 62 or 63-yard touchdown pass. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was one of the most beautiful passes I've ever seen. It was insane. There are very few things that get me to like jump off of my couch other than like a gate, like a buzzer beater or a walk-off home
Yeah.
run or something. That was like, holy shit, what did I just see? Anyway, this is not about Oregon. This is about USC. So the offense last year ranked third in the Pac-12 in scoring, third in total yards per game, sixth in pass yards per game, first in rushing yards per game, third in third down percentage, and sixth in red zone touchdown percentage. So that's a pretty good offense. It's a top 4 or 5 offense in the Pac-12. Really good. I mean, it's hard to see anything really wrong with that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked unbeatable at times, Washington and Utah specifically, and looked totally inept at other times. When the moments got big, he definitely tended to fold.
Yeah, he definitely started to he let pressure get to him a lot, which was kind of a theme throughout his career as well. It's funny though, because like he would come out in like really high pressure. I feel like it's like that medium high pressure that gets him, because like the really high pressure games, like what was it, LSU? Like, that's a really high pressure game. You're representing the Pac-12 against the SEC at this time. He was lights out, fantastic,
incredible,
unbelievable in that game.
Yep.
He looked unstoppable in that game. And then at Oregon, he looks inept, and wasn't quite. I mean, still pretty high pressure, because that's like the top 2, or at the time, I think they were the top 2 in the conference, or close to it. Like that's medium high pressure, and he just folded. So I wonder if it's like he's one of those athletes that either can only play well when there's like no stakes or incredible stakes, but like that middle ground is just not there.
Yeah, I couldn't put a finger on it, but it was like his whole career, because every season it felt like, okay, he's going to figure this out. He's not going to have those games where he just totally shits the bed, and then he just does every year.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like his potential was always there, and he just never quite met it. That's what his whole career felt like to me. Especially like everybody's like in Chip Kelly's system, he's going to be incredible, and he just never quite pulled it
Jamie,
together.
that pass play to Troy Franklin, 49 yards.
Oh my God, of course it was. It was like 63 out of his hand, because
He is a couple yards back, yeah.
Drop back. Yeah. Of course it was.
49 yards.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird season for UCLA for me. Offense was good, just never quite cut it, I guess, is the best way for me to put that. Defensive side of the ball, however, was not very good.
Nope.
They were 7th in the Pac-12 in points per game, 6th in total yards allowed, 11th in pass yards allowed. Yikes. They were worse than Colorado in passing yards allowed. It's not good. 5th in rushing yards allowed, 6th in interceptions, so they got a few turnovers, 6th in fumble recoveries, 5th in sacks. So the front 7 was okay. Secondary obviously was terrible, and they were 7th in defensive touchdowns. So kind of some weird stats in there. Definitely struggled on pass defense, which not surprising with Chip Kelly as your head coach.
No, he historically under-recruits defensive sides of the ball.
And gives up a lot of yards.
I mean, the bend don't break thing is about the most infuriating thing, especially when the break
is so hard
happens.
to watch. Yep. Yep. And it happens at the worst possible time. All right, let's get into some key returning and departing players. So key returning players on offense, this is where it gets bad for Bruin fans.
Mm-hmm.
This offense was built around Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Zach Charbonnet running the football. That is what UCLA's offense was, and they are both gone. And they are starting a freshman at quarterback.
Likely
Starting a freshman at quarterback. and some unproven talent at running back, to put it lightly.
Yeah, no, that's rough. Like, I mean,
so
the biggest task is obviously going to be replacing DTR, right? Especially since he was like such a good fit for the Chip Kelly system and kind of that one read run tuck. You know, he was great at that. But Chip Kelly likes to run a little more, because one thing I noticed about UCLA last year is they really simplified their offensive playbook. It worked because they didn't need to be complicated because they had two very talented players in the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see how a true freshman can grasp either can, especially we can get it. You know, we'll get into this a little bit later. You continue the recap.
Yeah. So the interesting thing here in our notes is the key returning player on offense. The only one that I could find that's like a key piece of the puzzle is their center.
Hell yeah.
Duke Clemens. He is a beast.
He's a stud.
He is a great center. But when we are highlighting your center as your only key returning starter on offense, that's the first red flag, I guess I could say, when we were going through this.
He can really, 'cause here's the thing. We all know, at least the fans of this show and Jamie know, because I've made it very clear, that a good offense starts with an offensive line. You can have a shit quarterback.
Right, but that's a full offensive line, not one player.
Yeah, but the center is the heart of the offensive line, the quarterback of
the
offensive line.
It is.
So it's a good start.
I'm not saying it's not an important
start.
piece.
Let's not sit here and shit on the team because they have a good center here, all right?
No, I'm shitting on the team because the only returning starter that's noteworthy is the center. Okay. Now, I'm not shitting on centers and I'm not shitting on the O-line. But when you don't have any other key starters, none, not a single other key starter that I could identify, that's a red flag. It's not, and in transfer portal era, all this shit, it's not the end of the world. But as far as last year's team to this year's team, that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, well, I think that could be scary with any position. If your only key starter is one wide receiver, that's bad. Stop. That's bad.
Yep. For a freshman QB, that center is going to be his best friend. Yes, absolutely. Great to have an experienced, great center with a true freshman coming in to play quarterback. So at least they've got that going for them. We'll see how the rest of the transfers look. I'm not counting them out because of this. It's just, and I'm very well aware that when we do the Colorado preview, whatever I'm saying right now is not going to hold up at all. So I am well aware of what is happening. All right. And it's just, that was the first thing that I was like, oh geez, they lost all of their production.
Yeah. They did lose a massive amount of offensive production this year.
For a good offense.
Yeah.
So on defense, they really only have two noteworthy returners. And again, this wasn't a very good defense. And that's middle linebacker Darius Muasau. Terrible. Their middle linebacker and their outside linebacker Latu. Chris needs to join these just to pronounce those. What did Torsten say there?
You're going to need a graphic to talk through the Colorado transfers.
It's going to be bad.
We're going to need flow charts.
That episode's going to be crazy. Yeah, that's going to be
well, I'm gonna get a whiteboard and put it up behind me, and we'll just do like the positions, like, you know, like the coaching, like, here are the starters.
We're not even going to do a recap of 2022 for Colorado because it doesn't matter.
It literally doesn't matter.
Anyway, we'll get to that later. So again, those are the linebacker positions, pretty solid because those are two good linebackers. Yeah. So linebacking core is good. The rest of this is up in the air at best, and they didn't have a lot of production on defense. So this is kind of like Arizona and Arizona State, where they didn't have a lot of returning production on defense, but they were relatively bad defenses. So while you're missing your top performers, they were the top performers on a bad defense.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you are technically losing that performance or that production, but whoever steps into that role is at least going to give you the same amount, regardless, pretty much, of them being a freshman or a transfer. You like, I don't want to say you couldn't have gotten much worse, because they obviously had their moments, right? They were fine, but you're not going to be losing enough to really make it like a significant difference. It's not going to move the needle here.
Right. If we're looking at the next piece of this, which is the key leaving players, I only have one on defense. So while they only have two key returning starters, they're only losing one key returning starter, which means the rest of that defense just wasn't that important.
Yeah.
So their only key loss on defense was defensive back Mo Osling III. He got drafted by the Seahawks. He was the best DB on the team in 2022. They had a decent amount of takeaways last year, and he was the leader in that bunch. A lot of pass defenses. He was a solid defender, and he's an NFL defender. So that's a big loss. But, the fact that you only have two key returners and one key departure means the other 8 players on the defense last year just were not very impressive.
Yes.
That's that. Key losses on offense. Obviously, you have Zach Charbonnet, insane talent at running back. Absolutely insane. One of the best pure runners that I've seen in a while.
Oh, just real quick, Perry, since you asked. She asked who the new defensive coordinator is. They went and got Coach D'Anton Lynn from the Baltimore Ravens, which should be a good pickup. Should be a good pickup.
It's a good pickup. We'll see how the talent is.
Cupboards are a little bit bare.
But the scheme should be there. Yeah. Other key departures on offense, obviously Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Anytime you replace your quarterback, it's a hit. Wide receiver Jake Bobo. He was a undrafted free agent, also to the Seahawks. Left tackle and left guard. So left tackle was Raekwon O'Neal. Was a former Rutgers transfer. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Bucks. And then the left guard, Antonio Mafi. Left guard, he was drafted by the Patriots. So a lot of NFL talent left on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with position groups of need, which is basically everybody.
Except center.
Except center on offense.
And linebackers.
And two linebacker spots on defense. Other than that, they need an overhaul. So let's get into what their recruiting class looked like both for...
I would say let's start with... So we kind of took a new approach during our prep. Let's start with the transfers and like the key people coming in. And then we could talk about the recruiting class, just because a lot of recruiting classes aren't going to... they're not going to contribute. And so I think start, and then we can fill those gaps in there. Right.
Yeah.
So I think the first one you want to start off with is kind of on the offensive side of the ball here, right? And they got two really, really solid wide receivers, and J. Michael Sturdivant from Cal. He might have been the only good thing about a really anemic Cal offense last year, and he's expected to come in and just start immediately, be their wide receiver 1. He's 6'5". He's a big dude. He's a top, over the top threat. If somebody good is throwing him the ball, he'll be a problem. But I guess here's the good news for him is no matter who's starting at UCLA at quarterback, it'll probably be a step up from who he had at Cal. So that's a good thing.
That's true. And he was a producer at Cal.
He was a producer. He was about their only producer. He
if there was
torched
a thing.
Oregon for whatever that means in that game. And they also got a former 5-star wide receiver from USC, Kyle Ford, just moving a little bit across town. But I'm not as big on Kyle Ford as I am on J. Michael. Kyle Ford, he's a great player. He's young. He's a former 5-star, but I just feel like he lacks the ability to kind of like blow the top off of a defense. Just that top end speed's not there from what I can tell right now. So that's kind of
it's hard to see why he was a 5-star. I don't think he's young. I see him as a redshirt senior transfer.
Oh shit.
So
Okay, my bad.
I think he's been around for a while and didn't produce a lot.
I mean, how USC is that though? They have a 5-star on their roster and they just don't do shit with him. That's USC's MO, dude.
That is USC's MO.
5-star
We'll get to them in a minute.
Die.
Yep. The other couple pieces of the puzzle on offense that came in as transfers were Kaderi Counta and Spencer Holstedge on the left side of the offensive line. Should be pretty solid pieces to replace the two NFL talents that they lost.
Yeah, I think they're going to be they'll immediately step in and take the reps at one for sure.
Yeah. So I think they'll be okay. They also got Jake Wiley, transfer from Colorado, which Eli yesterday when we were doing the prep laughed at and scoffed at and was like, "That's really who you're looking to fill holes." He was the only offensive lineman last year that was really worth anything. I wouldn't say he's good or great by any stretch, but he's solid. He shouldn't be a problem. I guess I'll put it that way. He's serviceable as a right guard. Is he going to go to the NFL? Probably not, but he should be an okay piece to the puzzle.
Yeah.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, really the only transfer that's going to make any sort of splash is Jordan Anderson. Now it's a pretty big splash. He was the best defensive back in the portal. Senior transfer from Bowling Green, 4-year starter, proven talent. We'll see how he does at the Power 5 level, but from everything I can see on this guy, he's going to be a solid safety.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's bringing a piece to this defense that I don't think can really be understated in the fact that he brings a lot of experience to the table, and in a team that is, for all intents and purposes, rebuilding at this point, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they need a leader, and this is that guy. He's a solid safety. Is he a top tier safety? Is he going to be a top tier safety in the Pac-12? Is he going to be all Pac-12? Probably not. But he's going to bring leadership and experience and like a field general on this defense that'll be sorely needed, especially in their secondary. So I think it's a really big pickup for them in a lot of ways, not just because he is a talented defensive back, but in the fact that he can make the secondary better just through leadership. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Torsten's right. You could say he's the center of the defense. So
he is. Yeah. Overall, they brought in 14 transfers, 9 on offense, 4 on defense, 1 on special teams. It just kind of shows the trajectory of this team is that they're, which is not a surprise with Chip Kelly, that they are offense focused. It's just hard for me to see. They lost so much production, and I don't see enough coming back through transfers or through recruiting,
so
which we'll get
we
to
want
in a
to address
second.
The recruiting real quick on this side of the ball.
We can. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, so outside of Dante Moore, if you look at this class, it is miserable. Now, caveat to all of this, it's still Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly historically, 1, doesn't like recruiting, 2, doesn't like recruiting defense, 3, always goes and gets his guys who aren't necessarily 4 or 5-star guys. Like, I mean, if you remember, Marcus Mariota was a 3-star, right? Best player in Oregon history. But on paper, it's a miserable recruiting class. They would have been. I did this yesterday, and I'm trying to remember.
You said like 126th or something.
No, they weren't that low. They were like in like the 70s. if they didn't get Dante Moore, who was admittedly great pickup for them, if they didn't get them, they would have been beaten out by. Hold on one second. It'll take me just a second here to pull this up.
I mean, so I guess I can go into this now. They ended up with the 25th overall class, which is respectable. If you're in the top 25, that's a respectable class. Largely driven by Dante Moore, who was the 5th overall recruit in the country. So that's going to automatically boost it. It was the, let me see here, fourth in the pack. So top tier Pac-12 recruiting class again. Largely driven.
So here's what I was saying here. Outside of Dante Moore, if they didn't get that flip, which is again right in Chip Kelly's MO, is flipping a good offensive player right at the deadline. But they would have been out recruited by Washington State, Memphis, Georgia Tech, Boston College, UTSA. University of Texas San Antonio would have out-recruited UCLA if they hadn't gotten that one flip. Rutgers, Wisconsin, which isn't surprising. Wisconsin's just a bad recruiting year for them, too. Houston, Duke, Vanderbilt, Pittsburgh, UCF, Oregon State, West Virginia, and Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the class, outside of Dante Moore, who, again, was the number 5 overall recruit, so good get. Outside of him, there wasn't a single top 300 player, according to 24/7.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
And if we can kind of go back to the filling the holes here in offense and defense, is one thing that really stands out for me is Dante Moore's flip, because he is very clearly in his tape, in his actions, what he's done, very clearly a pretty. He's got legs, but he's a pocket passer, right? He's a very traditional stand in the pocket thrower. I think his form, he's a little raw. He's on the raw end, which is good for Chip Kelly, I think. But he's got a really far forward throwing form, so I think he's going to have a lot of balls batted in the first year, and he's pretty flat-footed in the pocket. But it's just a weird. I'm very interested to see how or what they do with Dante Moore. As I kind of alluded to earlier, DTR was such a fit for what Chip Kelly loves to do on an offensive side of the ball. But Dante Moore isn't, right? He's got legs, but he's not a runner, right? And so it's going to be very interesting to see how they morph and shape this offense. Will it be good? I don't know. I don't know. I think there's going to be some struggles there, especially this year. He can grow into more of a runner role, I'm sure. Like I said, he's not a slow dude. I don't really anymore. Any quarterback coming out of high school can't be slow, right? There's not going to be any more Tom Brady's out there running 6'6" 40s, right? It's just not the way the position has evolved. So I'm really interested to see how Dante Moore develops in this system, because as far as I can tell, he doesn't really fit the mold of a Chip Kelly quarterback.
He wanted the bag. They gave him the bag.
Hey,
they needed
absolutely.
their guy, and they
go get him. Go get that money, kid. I'm all about the NIL big deals. Go get it, dude.
So I said they were the 25th overall class. That includes transfers, right? So if we're looking just at their high school recruiting class, this is including the number 5 overall recruit. Including him, they were the 46th ranked class in high school recruiting.
And they got the number 5 overall. It's bad. It's a bad recruiting class. And
it's a bad class.
This is all very Chip Kelly. Although Chip Kelly was
that's
pretty consistently in the 20s.
He was in the 20s
at Oregon.
Yeah.
But
this is low.
This is especially for a program as historic as UCLA. How are you?
It's hard to pinpoint.
How are you not?
They live in LA.
Yeah.
It's LA.
And I know USC is the trendier program overall, right?
Even if you get the second tier LA talent, you can do better than this.
Yeah.
Seriously, that is bad. I'm not trying to shit on Chip Kelly, but holy cow, that is really bad.
Yeah. So Torsten brings up that Dante Moore is all about Coach Dillingham. and he would have been doing a run and pass at Oregon if Dillingham had stayed. I'm not so confident in that. Because one thing that we've talked about that Dillingham,
he was always billed as a pro.
Well,
guy.
one thing that we've talked about, and one of the big praises we have for Coach Dillingham, is that he can adjust for his playmakers and still keep the core of his offense. I think Dillingham would have kept him in the pocket a lot more and let other playmakers do their thing. Maybe I'm wrong here, and maybe it would have been kind of this run and shoot like Bo Nix did last year, which it's so fun to watch. But I really do believe that one of Dillingham's biggest strengths is his flexibility in his scheming. So that's my take on that.
I agree with that. I'm with you. I'm interested to see what Chip Kelly does with it because he's so innovative. I feel like he's going to make it work no matter what it is. It's just hard for me to see enough talent on this roster to get it done. Now, Chip Kelly has always done a lot with a little.
Always.
And if he gets the right guys and they're not flashy 5 stars, this team could be fine. I'm looking at this on paper and what we know about the guys that are projected as starters. It's just hard to see a whole lot going right.
And it doesn't help that the team was good last year and they lost a lot of what made them
all
good.
Of their production.
One of the problems here with UCLA is there's a lot of unknown.
Too much unknown.
And
Way
so
too
it's
much
really
unknown.
easy to see them taking a pretty significant step back. Just because they lost a lot of production and they don't really seem to have replaced it all that well.
On paper.
I think the offensive side of the ball, they'll still get their numbers. They'll still do well. I just think it's going to be a significant step back from last year.
Yeah, so let's get right into the 2023 preview. What I have written down here is they're going to be relying heavily on developing the talent that was already on the roster because they didn't bring in a significant amount of playmakers to fill the gaps. And if you're looking back at the 2022 class, it was 5th overall in the Pac-12. It was all right. 29th overall, so okay. And it was the 6th overall in transfers. So they did a decent job last year of maybe building some depth, and maybe that's what they're depending on. In 2021 class, it was also the 5th overall. It was the 20 in the pack. It was the 25th overall in the country and 3rd overall in transfer. So this class, I don't want to look too much at this class and like be sounding alarms. Again, they still have the 14th overall transfer class. So it's not like this team is devoid of talent. It's just not proven talent.
Yeah.
So they're going to be relying heavily on these guys picking it up quickly, and then producing at levels that we haven't seen them produce at yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like the way I see it is like it's still a Chip Kelly offense, right? The defense
on offense.
The defense is depending on the new coordinator. Who the Ravens had a very good defense last year, so like that's a good sign for sure. Yep. I think the cupboards are a little bare. I think I saw a thing that UCLA hasn't recruited anything above a 3-star on interior offensive line or defensive line in 4 years. That's bad. That's not a good thing. If you don't have a middle presence, you're in trouble there. But
and what have we started to see in the Pac-12, right? Like if we're looking at trends in the Pac-12, the offenses have been good for a while.
Yeah.
That's nothing new. But what teams have won the last couple years? Utah, Oregon, under Mario Cristobal. Those were defense-oriented football teams that could stop these high-powered, prolific offenses.
I mean, here's the thing. You guys heard Jamie and I bitch and moan about Mario Cristobal's offense for 2 damn years. Like,
but he won back-to-back Pac-12 titles.
Pac-12 titles by just having a stingy-ass defense.
Because if you're one-dimensional, and your team is solely driven on scoring points, you're gonna get beat.
So basically, my sum up of this is it's a Chip Kelly offense, so you can't count it out. But I don't think it'll be efficient enough to go and win them games in spite of
they did last year.
In spite of the defense.
Right.
Because this defense is just not going to be very good. They lost some great pieces, and they just didn't get enough back for me to be high on what was already not a great defense.
Unless you got young talent that we haven't seen yet,
yes.
right? So there's always the unknown piece of this. We are operating in what we know, and what we know is there's not a whole lot of production returning, and there's not a whole lot directly replacing it.
Yeah, exactly. So if for all you UCLA fans out there, one particularly in the chat, for the season, just embrace the rebuild and get ready for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. My note for key to the season is pray.
Yep.
Because if I'm looking at the construction of this roster, it looks scary.
You pray for some of those young guys to step up and really take the mantle here. Torsten says Mario Cristobal also took 2 to 3 years off for our lives from running back power on 3rd and 10.
100,000. Like, I could bitch about Mario Cristobal's offense until I
literally ran out of breath.
Oh my God, it was so painful. But that was a defense-oriented team, and it won football games because of the defense. And that's the trend in the Pac-12. Like you said, Chip Kelly's going to get his yards. He's going to do it.
They're going to win some games that they
shouldn't have won.
Yeah, against better teams.
And they're probably going to surprise some people because Chip Kelly tends to do that. It's just hard to see them being competitive like they were last year.
Perry says she's become a pro at disassociating for the past 13 years, so she's just going to keep doing that.
All I can say is do you think Chip Kelly lasts beyond this year?
I do. I think they're coming off the heels of their best season. On a season that was very much purposely built, right? Like, you saw the progress of them through DTR and Zach Charbonnet. And so I think that lengthened his leash. If they had a mediocre season last year, I think it's tough, especially going into the Big Ten. But the
Big Ten's just going to eat them alive.
Yeah, that's. I think he doesn't last very long in the Big Ten, because in the Big Ten you need to recruit. You have to recruit a good defense, and Chip Kelly showed time and again that he doesn't do that. So that's going to be a struggle. Maybe he will embrace that, or hire a staff that really loves recruiting defense.
I mean, who knows, right? It's a new defensive coordinator. Yeah. So who knows? Like, this upcoming class is key, in my opinion. If you've had a couple average to below average to poor classes in the last couple years with a solid core that you could run with, and they did, and then you have a bad class like you did last year, and you're jumping to a new conference, this class coming up right now is going to be key for Chip Kelly.
It'll be big for sure. I just think it's really hard as a AD to be like, yeah, you've had bad recruiting classes, but you won a lot last year, so you're fired this year though because you didn't win enough this year, right? I think that's a really tough argument to make. So I would say he at least has another 2 years to kind of right the ship here.
We'll see. I just don't know that UCLA is going to be super patient.
If they have a horrifying season this year, sure, he'll probably be. I don't foresee them having a horrifying season. I don't think it's going to be a good season. I think it's going to be like.
I mean, what's horrifying?
Like 2 wins, right? If they win,
that's atrocious.
If they have 2, if they're between 2, if they're between 2 and 4 wins, I think he's probably gone. Especially with the move, I think. Without the move, he'd probably still get another year. With the move, they would be like, okay, we need to change this. But like, if they're bowl eligible, he'll be around. Even if Even if they're, they have 6 wins and it's a really disappointing season still, it'll be fine. Like he'll stick around for another year or two.
Torsten says that first Big Ten check's going to be mighty nice when they're looking to pay his buyout.
Yep.
It'll be interesting. I mean, I'm taking a look at their current 2024 class, and it's looking a whole lot similar to what they had this year. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
I do want to say
I don't want to count Chip Kelly out because he does do a lot with a little.
I do want to say just real quick. I love that we're doing this live. I love being able to like actively talk to you guys about this stuff. It's great. I'm having a moment.
It is incredible.
Just so fun. It's just so fun.
It is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Okay, let's get on to USC. This is a little bit of a different one compared to the first 3 that we've done now. It's kind of a downer to start. UCLA is tough, man. Like I don't want to be too down on them. It's just really hard on paper to see this going all that well. But let's move on to USC. Other side of the spectrum. Recap of 2022. Finished first in the Pac-12, 11-3 overall, 8-1 in conference. Lost the Pac-12 championship. Caleb Williams won the Heisman. He was injured in that Pac-12 championship game, which USC fans will not let you forget ever. Listener, we came in to do our research for this episode last night, and I tried to dissociate as much as possible from my disdain for USC.
Same.
Okay, so we tried to do this as objectively as we possibly could. None of what I'm about to say is any reflection on that shithole of a fan base. So
to be clear, I still hate USC. There. But here's the thing:
100%.
I'm really high on them after our research.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. USC fan, don't let it go to your fucking head because you all suck more than everybody else. Maybe Washington fans worse, but it's a close race between you two idiots. All right. Last year was the first year under Lincoln Riley. It went basically as expected. It was great offense, relatively bad defense, but it didn't matter because they had Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Their defense was really bad.
We'll get there.
Yeah, okay. We'll get there.
We'll get there. It was bad. Best win, if you're looking at their schedule, it was Oregon State or Notre Dame. Those are kind of 1A and 1B, both good wins. I'd say the nod goes to the Oregon State game because it was on the road. Not very good weather for that game, if I remember right. Low-scoring affair.
A fantastic game.
If Oregon State had any semblance of an offense, they would have won that game.
Passing offense, because they had a running offense, as we all very well remember.
You're right. But for a team that like USC averaged like 44 points a game and Oregon State held them 17. It's just an absolute anomaly of a game for USC. But they did pull it out, so that was one of their best wins. Worst loss, to me, easily was the Tulane Cotton Bowl loss because they had that game in hand.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad loss to a mid-major, too.
Threw it away. Yep. They did lose twice to Utah, so you could probably put either of those in there. Caleb Williams was hurt in the Pac-12 championship game, so I'm not going to put that as their worst loss. They lost by 1 point in Salt Lake. Not going to put that as their worst loss. Losing to a mid-major in the Cotton Bowl is not good.
That's really bad. That's a bad loss. And here's the thing.
If you're looking,
Tulane was a good team. USC should have beat really the brakes off of them.
USC should have beat them by 40, but that defense, we'll get there. The defense was so bad. All right. Offense was first in scoring in the Pac-12, second in total yards per game, second in passing yards per game, fifth in rushing yards per game, second and third down percentage, first in red zone touchdown percentage. Just it was a beast of an offense.
Yes.
There's just no other way to put it.
Just top tier. Like we all expected.
Caleb Williams.
Like we all expected.
Right. Caleb Williams is an absolute animal, one of the best college quarterbacks that we've seen. Just insane. His ability to put his team on his shoulders and win in any way that they need. I mean, he looks like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL, just at the college level. He can just do it all.
Yeah, there was one throw in particular where I was just like, oh, man, this guy's incredible. It was when he was squared up to the offensive line, running backwards, and he threw like a 30-yard pass over the middle, and it was just a dot. I was like, he didn't even step into it. He just fucking flinged it. I was like, come on, man. He's good.
It's not
He's
fair.
Good.
He was able to hide a few holes on that O-line. The O-line wasn't bad per se.
A lot like Patrick Mahomes.
But they definitely were helped out by the fact that they had Caleb Williams behind them.
Yes.
They did have some key injuries. Travis Dye had a season-ending knee injury on November 11th against Colorado. He was having a solid season for the Trojans, as he did with the Ducks. So that was a big loss going into those last couple games for sure. Wide receiver core was deep and strong, as they usually are at USC. Jordan Addison was a human highlight reel.
Yes, he was.
They had 7 receivers with at least 200 receiving yards on the season. It's an insane number. I know 200's not a big number, but 7 guys having that, it's crazy. The tight ends aren't huge in Lincoln Riley's system, and I don't anticipate them being this year either. So that wasn't a big factor, but they didn't need to be. If you're looking at Caleb Williams' stats, it's almost laughable. He was the best.
Torsten in the chat says, I'm glad I'm a viewer because this whole segment is gross. Fuck being objective. Sorry, dude. We're trying to go legit for this.
We're doing our best. I'm telling you, man, this was painful. Watching the highlights sucked. But if you're looking at it objectively, it's undeniable how good this offense is. It's undeniable. They're insane. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in college football. I don't know that it's close right now. He averaged 9.1 yards per attempt, not per completion, per attempt.
Unbelievable.
He averaged 13.6 yards per completion and 43 touchdowns.
I guess that's
and it ended with Heisman. So it's hard to find what else to say about this guy other than he's an absolute freak. So that's enough about this prolific offense. Let's help Torsten out.
He says
here.
It's like watching Dale and Brennan from Step Brothers when they went corporate.
It's kind of
like that, but
I appreciate that.
I'm not going to call him dad. I will drop that motherfucker.
Let's talk about the defense. We'll help you out here, Torsten, because we're going to shit on USC.
Yes, this is going to be our moment to
shine.
Because
this defense, it wasn't as bad as maybe the rest that we've previewed, but compared to the offense, this defense sucked.
Here's the thing. I will say outside, there's one factor that makes them not just horrible defense, and it was takeaways. Outside of takeaways, this defense was atrocious.
Defense and getting to the quarterback.
It's not that they necessarily have they have talent, right? They have a ton of talent. USC always has talent. They have a ton of talent in this front seven. Alex Grinch made this defense bad. Their execution was
bad.
Terrible. They could not set an edge to save their goddamn life. And they were worse up the middle. Stopping the run, they were atrocious.
Well, and then when they couldn't do that, they couldn't tackle.
Oh, that genuinely, there's one other defense that I can think of from a good team that had worse or I don't even know about worse tackling, but the same level of tackling, and that was Don Pelham at the Oregon Ducks.
Yep.
That tackling was awful all season long. We can talk about the Georgia game this year and how bad the tackling was, but after that, the tackling was amazing at Oregon. But that Don Pelham defensive year where they could not tackle, This USC team was probably worse than that.
I think it was worse. Every time I even turned on a USC game, they were missing a tackle. It was unbelievable how bad they were at tackling. So if you look at the stats, 8th in the pack in points per game allowed, 8th in total yards allowed, 8th in passing yards allowed, 8th in rushing yards allowed. Bottom third of the Pac-12 in every one of those categories. It just wasn't good. And if it wasn't for their offense scoring so many points, I think this would have been worse. Like if they were relying on their defense, it just wouldn't have happened.
If they didn't have an absolute elite offense, USC would have been fighting for bowl eligibility.
Yep, 6-6. Now, like Eli said, they were first in picks, third in fumble recoveries, second in sacks, and first in defensive touchdowns. So they got the ball, but that is clearly all they were coached to do.
Yeah.
Because everything else sucked.
It's one of those things that, like, as a football fan, you understand a little bit why they were missing so many tackles when you see that stat. Because when you are trying to strip a ball, you are not form tackling. You are punching, and you're not grabbing and rolling. You're not doing any of that. You are punching at the ball. And so you can see why they missed a lot of tackles, because all they tried to do was get that ball. And it worked. It worked. However, it bit them in the ass a couple times.
Yep. Okay. I mean, in big situations.
In really big situations.
So that was the defense. I hope that was better for you, Torsten, just ripping on that horrific defense. They were bad.
That's going to be probably the last like negative shit we get to say.
Unfortunately, the rest of this is going to be very painful for you. So if you go to bed, I wouldn't blame you. It is late on the East Coast.
Painful for us.
This is going to be painful for us. Let's look at the key returning and departing players. Returning, obviously, Caleb Williams. If you're returning your Heisman winner, it's going to be a key returning player. Running back Austin Jones is back. He stepped up big time when Travis Dye went out. He's a good piece of the puzzle. Wide receivers Brendan Rice and Mario Williams are a good 1-2 punch there on the receiving core. On the defense, you've got linebacker Eric Gentry and safety Kalen Bullock coming back. Both of those guys were kind of the leaders on that takeaway front. And Eric Gentry was, I believe, the leading sack getter for this team last year. So that's that for the key returning players. Key leaving players on offense, you got running back Travis Dye and wide receiver Jordan Addison. Those are key departures. Not going to hurt them a lot. Spoiler alert. On the defense, you're losing Mekhi Blackman. He's a transfer from CU. He was a very solid cornerback. He's not going to be an absolute stud for you, but he was maybe the only guy on the team that knew how to tackle, like form tackle, because he came from somewhere else, I guess. But like he was the only guy that could make an open field tackle that I saw ever. The rest of the guys they lost weren't critical because they were on a pretty bad defense. They won't miss them a whole lot.
Yeah.
Position groups of need going into this year, we have wide receiver, running back, offensive line, entire front seven on the defense, and basically everybody on defense, I guess, if you're looking at it that way.
Just a couple of guys that they brought in. We want to talk about a couple of these guys. They got some of the guys who are going to be coming in and starting. Like they got Kion Bars and Jamil Muhammad. Both guys are probably just lateral moves. I don't think they're going to be any worse than the starters last year. They're not going to be much better. They got this kid from Georgia, Bear Alexander, who's largely an unknown. He didn't.
What position are all these guys?
Defensive linemen. Largely unknown. This Bear Alexander guy, he played limited snaps at Georgia, and when he did, he played against pretty shit teams. He played against TCU a little bit in the championship game, but that was a blowout.
It was a blowout.
And so he's a backup at Georgia. It does seem that he's got a really good edge, like he's able to like cut it under and get to the quarterback. So I expect that to be a slight upgrade. It's hard to tell. There's just not a lot of tape on this guy. They went out and got, for their linebackers, they went out and got a huge upgrade in Mason Cobb. He was a Big 12, all Big 12 linebacker from Oklahoma State last year. He's a certified stud. He's a very good linebacker. I expect him to really be an anchor for this defense going forward. And then they also got this kid, Anthony Lucas, who is a former 5-star defensive lineman as well. He's a big get if they can develop him. He's still pretty raw. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time at Texas A&M, so he's still pretty raw. But if they can really develop him, he's gonna be pretty solid defender there. On the offensive side of the ball, kind of these starter guys, you've got Dorian Singer coming in to replace, I'm totally spacing his name right now,
Jordan Addison.
And Jordan Addison is a big loss. But here's the thing, and I read this in an article, so I can't take credit for this for right now, but in two more times I can take credit for it. But losing Jordan Addison and getting Dorian Singer is like losing your PlayStation 4 Pro and then being like, well, will this PlayStation 5 work? You know, he's an upgrade, which sounds hard to say, but Dorian Singer's he's a problem. With Caleb Williams throwing him the ball, he's going to be a problem for defenses just around the whole Pac-12, whole country. It's going to be nasty. And then on the line, they've got Emmanuel Pregnon. He's a transfer kid from Bowling Green, I think it was. Yeah, Bowling Green. Big guy. The measurables are there. Smart, but his footwork is a little rough. It's an upgrade from the pretty meh offensive line.
Wyoming.
That's
Wyoming.
right. Yeah. Pretty meh offensive line last year, so he's an upgrade from that. He's a quality guard. He's an interior offensive lineman. He's quality. That was a pretty decent get. Outside of that, it was really hard to find tape on some of these guys, so I can't really speak to their offensive line. They got two other transfers, one from Florida and I think one from Bowling Green. And
Bowling Green was a guy from UCLA.
Who am I thinking of? I can't. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But he. Jarrett Kingston. Nope. Yeah, Jarrett Kingston is the other one.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he was a guard.
Yeah. It's hard to get tape on a lot of these guys, especially on offensive line. So I can't really tell you much about those guys, but they probably won't be much worse, especially, the transfer portal has been successful for USC. So
yeah, the only additions I have here are my notes on Dorian Singer. I agree with you. Total problem. Great hands with plus speed. He's got okay size. He's not going to blow you. He's 6'1", 185. It's nothing crazy. But with Brennan Rice on the other side of the ball at 6'3", 205, doesn't matter because you got your big guy. You don't need him to be big. He's going to be a key piece in this electric offense. It's not looking forward to seeing him run all over the field.
Yeah.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, you got Christian Roland Wallace, cornerback transfer from Arizona. We talked about him 2 weeks ago when we did that preview. He was one of the good pieces in that bad Arizona defense, and they lost him to USC. He's a decent corner, really good closing speed. He's an instinctual cornerback, make good plays on the ball, not afraid to come in and make a hit, which that defense needs sorely. When he's in position, it's hard to complete a pass against him. So he's kind of a lockdown corner type guy, and a piece that they needed in that secondary.
Yeah. Going over to the recruiting side of the ball, I don't really see a whole lot of contributors this year. There are a couple, so we're going to keep this fairly brief on the recruiting because they have a great recruiting class, but the team is already so talented, these kids aren't really going to compete this year. However, they got a couple guys on the offensive side of the ball. This Zachariah Branch, he was, I think, the number 1 wide receiver in the class this year. He's just a route running monster. He's undersized, but he's really quick, so he can be a deep threat. I actually, looking at their roster, I kind of see him kind of taking that Mario Williams slot role more than wide receiver 1 or 2, because his routes are nasty. They're just I swear to God, he was folding kids in half with some of these flag routes he was running. It was just unbelievable to watch some of this tape. He's a really talented kid, and I could see him being really thriving in the slot position here. Whether that'll be the case, we'll see him in some reps, and he'll do well. They also got at tight end. Now, he's not necessarily projected to start right now, but if he's not starting by the end of the season, something's wrong with him.
He's probably going to start anyway.
This kid, Deuce Robinson, is a 98 rated tight end. He's just a problem. He's 6'6", 280 pounds, and he's really fast. His route running is a little meh, but as a tight end, you don't need that, right? It's all about using your body to get in front of the ball. He played wide receiver in high school, right? So he's fast. He's got okay routes for a tight end, probably pretty good routes. He's really good at high pointing the ball. He's got really good speed for a tight end. Really, the only thing that's unclear about this guy, whether he is a clear starter or not, is his blocking. He wasn't. Like I said, he played wide receiver in high school, so he was never really asked to do a lot of blocking along the line anyway. So that we don't really know what he's doing there. But in a Lincoln Riley system,
it's not really
that big of a deal. He's going to be on routes anyway. He's basically wide receiver 4 on this team. But if he's not starting, I will be genuinely shocked. He's one of those athletes who can make an absolute difference on a field.
Yeah, and if I remember in his recruiting process, Oregon was in play for him, and I was pretty high on him for a long time. It
would have been
gonna be a
nice. Luckily, Oregon already has a pretty stacked tight end room, but ooh, buddy, this guy's going to be a problem for some defenses. I fully expect Deuce Robinson to absolutely torch the Oregon defense, because historically, Oregon defense does not do well against tight ends.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Dan Lanning's different.
But I'm just, in my mind, I'm preparing for that because history.
We'll get there.
All right. Defense side of the ball.
Go ahead.
Defense side of the ball, real quick on their recruits. They only really have one guy who I think make any difference this year, and it's this kid, linebacker Tackett Curtis. Big kid, just violent as a linebacker. Just absolute killer on the field. He's fast, strong, and he depletes kids all the time. He does lack a lot of discipline. He's really fast for a linebacker, and he's like, it's weird, his high school tape, he's like 10, 11, 12 yards back from the line of scrimmage, which linebackers are generally 5 to 6 to 7 in there. Like 7's pretty deep, 5's pretty close. But he's 10, 12 yards back, and I think he got away with a lot of stuff by just being faster than everyone in high school. So with that being said, he'll be really good once he gets that discipline cleaned up. His reads are better and quicker. He doesn't need a line 10 yards off the ball. He's going to be a great run stopper. He's going to be a beast.
Torsten says Justin Flo 2.0.
Actually, yeah, that does track. I would say that is, like, based off his film, it's very similar play style. Just like a very downhill linebacker, which is very Justin Flo. So yes, that's a very good comparison.
Nice. Let's get to the full 2023 preview. We're going to start on the scary part here. This offense somehow is going to be better than 2022, I think, which is terrifying.
Yeah. I my first note on their offense is best offense in the country, full stop.
It's And I don't know that it's close.
I'm sure there's going to be some teams out there that, like,
somebody's going to come out of nowhere.
Statistically,
and
Western Kentucky, you probably have a better offense. But,
okay, I'm talking like in the Power 5.
Yeah, but like they're going to be the most talented. They're going to be the scariest offense in the country.
Yeah, you got a generational quarterback. By all looks of it, he's a generational quarterback.
You've got an offensive
O-line should be
as a
getting
head
an
coach.
upgrade. And the O-line's only getting better, in my opinion.
And it's still a question mark, I think. They didn't get markedly better.
It's not going to be it's not going to be the best O-line in the country. They're not going to win any awards.
Won't matter.
But they don't have to.
They don't need to.
They don't have to. You know, they lost production at the wide receiver room, and they adequately covered it.
I think they upgraded.
If
overall.
not upgraded. Yeah. Running back's a slight question mark, but not enough to hamper the offense. Is my note.
In this offense, that's not.
When you have to
account
for Caleb Williams the way you do, your running back's going to get yards.
Yeah. All you have to do is have somebody who is competent back there.
Yep.
If you can get a good one back there, that's even better.
Travis Dye.
Yeah, Travis Dye was perfect for this offense.
Right. Which hurts a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is going to be improved, but not great. I think they did a good job filling the positions of need. This is still obviously going to be the weak part of this team. I think it's going to be better. So that's also scary because the only reason they lost 2 out of those 3 games that they lost was their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And if that defense is better, it's a little terrifying.
Yeah, I do think the defense will be improved. Again, maybe marginally improved. One issue I'm still having, because they did talent-wise, they did improve, right? Experience-wise, they did improve. Where I'm struggling is with Alex Grinch and his complete lack of execution last year. Because one thing I always talk about is execution on the field is 100% on coaching, right? Because if you're not coaching them the right things, they're not going to do the right things. In situations, you're not preparing the kids enough. Alex Grinch seemed to take a massive backslide in that last year, in preparing the kids to play. And so I'm really struggling with like putting a good grade on this defense going forward. I do think they got better. That execution scares the hell out of me still. I think if they lose a game or two, it will be because of this defense.
No doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. Or injuries, right? The other thing about this defense is there's not a lot of depth. They did a decent job of covering their starting talent. They have not built a deep defense that can withstand some injuries to key positions.
Yeah, and Torsten brings up a good point that the end of their schedule is tough. So the last 6 games is Notre Dame, Utah. They play Cal. That'll be a bye week for them. Spoiler alert. Washington, Oregon, UCLA. That's a tough end of schedule.
Yeah.
Like, that's a tough way to end the season.
Yeah. I mean, 4 out of the 6 of those are losable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're talking, and with how highly we're talking about USC, 4 out of the 6 of those games are losable.
Yeah. And Torsten, you're right. That will be a theme probably going forward for the top teams of the conference. So it's quintessential Pac-12, baby. Just beat the shit out of each other.
And the back half of the schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do it every year.
I know exactly why they do it, because it creates really good drama for the end of the season.
It does.
Here's the thing. I will defend this to my death, because the last 3 weeks of the Pac-12 is the best football in the country.
It just always knocks them out of the playoffs. Like, always. It's not
as much as it kills me every year, I still love it to death. Because it's fun to watch.
Fair.
It's fun.
It is. And it's dramatic, and it's awesome. Keys to the season: keep Caleb Williams healthy. That's 1A, B, and C. And then number 2 is learn how to tackle somehow.
Yeah, the only key to the season I have is execute on defense. If they execute on defense, this will be a number 1, number 2 team in the country.
Yep.
That's it.
If they execute on defense, they're going to run the table.
Yeah.
I just being flat out honest.
Yeah.
That sucks to say. This team's ridiculously good.
It's really tough. Really tough to say all of this. I'm exhausted now.
So to recap our first 2 Pac-12 previews, we've got 3 pretty bad teams and 1 team that's really good that we fucking despise.
Yep.
Awesome. We're off to a great start. Is Lincoln still the head coach? What? Yes, Lincoln Riley is still the head coach.
He's saying he's going to choke somewhere or something. Would be my guess there.
You're saying if this team somehow loses 6 games, then maybe not. But I don't see that.
I mean, the defense will be... So Torsten says the defense will be the same. Here's the thing. That all hinges on Alex Grinch. That's where that hinges, right? Like, the defensive coordinator. I think Lincoln Riley does nothing with the defense. I don't,
Also, if the defense is the only thing that's bad and the offense is still fine, Lincoln Riley's not going to be the one that gets fired.
It'll be Grinch.
If the defense even looks remote, like the first 6 games of this schedule are wins. Not like maybe. It's like they're all wins. San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona. That is a cakewalk city. Those are wins. The toughest game on that schedule probably is Colorado, and Colorado is going to be much improved. Nothing even close to what this USC team is. Not even in the same stratosphere. So if they show any signs of weakness in those first 6 weeks, Alex Grinch may be gone then.
For real.
I'm guessing he has a very short leash.
Yeah.
Like if they come to Boulder and Colorado puts up 450 yards and it somehow comes to the fourth quarter, he may get fired on the field like Herm Edwards did.
So Torsten is asking a question. What would we prefer? USC runs the table but gets blown out in a playoff, or USC loses a game late, misses the playoff, but wins in New Year's 6? That's like 6 in one hand for me.
I have a question, a caveat to that. Losing a late game, does that mean another Pac-12 team makes it to the playoff?
Oh, that's true.
Or does it mean no Pac-12 team makes it to the playoff? It's a key point. Torsten?
There's a delay, so it'll be a second.
I guess I'll answer both. If losing a game late in the season, like let's say it's to Oregon, for example, means that, well, I'd rather that. I'd rather them lose to Oregon, right? So I'll get that off the table right now. I would rather they lose to Oregon. If it's not Oregon, if they're going to beat Oregon no matter what in this scenario, and they lose to Washington or UCLA or something, and they don't make the playoff, but Oregon or Washington or Utah gets in, I would rather that.
Yeah, for sure.
If it means that no Pac-12 team gets into the playoff, I'd rather them run the table and get the absolute shit kicked out of them by Georgia in the playoff.
I think I'm there with you. I think it's a fairly slim margin.
If the other answer is Washington is the one that makes the playoff, then fuck that. I hope they both lose.
Agreed. All right.
I don't have a good answer to that question.
There isn't a good answer.
You're asking me to ask like my least favorite scenarios here. Unfortunately, those are likely scenarios.
They very much are. Those are things that I could very well see happening this year.
It's crazy to me that they're playing Notre Dame in the middle of October. That's usually a late November game. if not Thanksgiving weekend. That's wild.
Torsten would prefer them getting in and having Lincoln get embarrassed again because he hates him, which is fair.
It is fair. I mean, the best scenario is they go to Oregon on November 11th. They're 10-0, and Oregon just beats the shit out of them. And that's the embarrassment for Lincoln.
I love that. I love that for us.
And then Oregon's the team that makes it to the playoff in our scenario.
And then Oregon wins it all.
Yeah, see, it's all gonna work out. We need to give USC their due in the preseason, right? We did our objective thing. I think our duty is done.
Now we can be unobjective.
Officially. The USC preview is officially over right now.
ESPN, if you are watching this right now to recruit us to your network, cut here.
This is the end of the ESPN cut of this episode.
And now we can talk about fuck USC.
Fuck them forever. I hope they lose the first 6 games and everybody gets fired.
Yeah.
It's not realistic, but I don't
that'd be great.
Man, I'm looking at the rest of these. We haven't looked at the rest of these schedules, but like Oregon's first 5 games are cakewalks too. Yeah. Texas Tech's not a cakewalk, but that's out of their control. It's going to be fun.
It is.
I really like Oregon's schedule. Oh, man. I hadn't looked at this really yet. I mean, I had, but I hadn't looked at it like trying to dissect it. It's going to play well.
Yeah.
Every tough game comes with a not tough game before it. Just don't do what UCLA did and lose to Arizona.
So we got somebody in chat. Torsten said, "Don't cheat," because he asked us guesses on the last time USC came to Oregon. You asked us this before in one of our other ones, and it was 2015. I think that was our first live episode. You asked the same question, and we didn't know, and then you told us. And then we do have somebody else, Laughing Jahid, bandwagon Nuggets fan, eh?
Absolutely not, man. You must be new to the show. Welcome.
Or a troll.
Thank you for
Love
tuning
you, dude.
in.
That's great. Oh, man. No.
Welcome to the show, but I am anything but a bandwagon fan of
James
any
done
of my
his nickel,
teams.
man. He's been through the shit.
Dude, I am a Rockies fan. I can't be called a bandwagon fan of any kind. I am miserable. All right?
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Thank you all for tuning in this week. We love you.
It's your buzzer
Thank you
beater,
for
Jamie.
I know it is. Thank you guys for I'm thanking them. You can thank them after me. But it's really awesome to interact with you guys. So if you're tuning in and not interacting, we really love the interaction. It's fun for us, especially when we're talking about the sport that we love so much, that is college football.
It's been so nice to actually be able to talk about college football again, like in depth, because I just my heart is soaring right now talking about this.
Even though it's teams we hate and we have to talk good
we get to talk
them.
about them. I don't care, man. Cool. Yeah. So, listener. Oh,
before you sign off, when's our next one? We got 4th of July coming up in 2 weeks. I'm out of town, so we're going to take 2 weeks off here. Then we're going to do Stanford and Cal coming up the week after the 4th of July.
Yes. That's what we're going to do. So, listeners and viewers, we love you. Thanks for being here. We love the interaction of live. If you just come and lurk too, that's cool. Like, we love the views.
We love you being here.
We love you being here. You don't have to get in a debate with us on chat. We'd love for you to pipe in. That's cool. We love interacting, but if you're not comfortable with that, that's fine too. And listeners, if you're catching this on the podcast, we love you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Zeta June for all the music you let us use. And yeah, just keep it up, guys. Keep it sleazy out there. And so with that, Jamie, hit us with that. Oh, thanks for Cameron for our graphic as well. Old tugboat moderator. He didn't show up today, so he's fired. But so with that, Jamie, hit us with your buzzer beater.
Buzzer beater for this week from this bandwagon Nuggets fan is fuck USC.
Deuces. I didn't. Here we go. I didn't do the ending. I wasn't ready for it.